In the year 61 AD, a queen burned London to the ground. Not conquered it, not looted it, erased it. Archaeologists today can still find a thin red layer of ash under the streets of modern London, a scar from a fire so total that historians call it the destruction layer. And here's the strange part. London wasn't even a real city yet. It was barely 20 years old, a trading post, and somebody already wanted it dead. So how did a settlement that was destroyed in its infancy become one of the most powerful cities on Earth? The story starts with the Romans. Around 47 AD, they built a bridge across the River Thames, because that's what Romans did. They built infrastructure first and asked questions later. The spot they picked was almost accidental. It was the furthest point downstream where the river was narrow enough to cross, but still deep enough for ships. That single decision, an engineering shortcut, created the reason London exists at all. The settlement grew fast. Merchants came, warehouses appeared, and that's exactly why Boudica, the queen of the Iceni tribe, targeted it. Rome had humiliated her, seized her land, and abused her family. London was Roman wealth without Roman soldiers to protect it, so she burned it. Tens of thousands were killed. For a moment, it looked like London's story was already over before it began. But something strange happens to cities built in the right location. They keep coming back. The Romans rebuilt London bigger and walled it in stone. For nearly 400 years it thrived as Londinium, a hub of trade stretching across the empire. Then Rome collapsed, and something almost nobody expects happened next. London was abandoned, not slowly, almost completely. By the early 5th century, the Anglo-Saxons who moved into Britain didn't even want to live inside the old Roman walls. They thought the stone ruins were haunted, built by giants, cursed. So they built a new settlement nearby instead, wooden huts along the riverbank, and left the original Roman city as an empty shell for centuries. That decision would come back to haunt them, because emptiness invites invasion. By the 800s, Viking raiders were sailing up the Thames, and this new Saxon London, spread out and undefended, was an easy target. So the Saxons made a decision that changed everything. They moved back inside the old Roman walls. The ruins that once scared them became their shelter. It's one of history's strange loops. The thing they abandoned out of fear is the same thing that saved them. By 1066, London was valuable enough that when William the Conqueror invaded England, he didn't burn it like Boudica did. He wanted it intact. He built the Tower of London instead, not just as a fortress, but as a message, a concrete, terrifying message to anyone who might rebel. I am here permanently. For the next few centuries, London expanded. It became the seat of English power, packed with narrow streets, wooden houses stacked close together, and open sewers running through the middle of it all. It was loud, filthy, and dangerously flammable. Nobody thought much about that risk until September 1666. A fire broke out in a bakery on Pudding Lane. In most cities, that's a bad night. In London, it became something almost biblical. The wooden buildings were bone dry after a hot summer. The wind picked up. Within 4 days, the Great Fire of London destroyed over 13,000 houses and nearly the entire medieval city center. Here's the part that shocks most people. The death toll was recorded as shockingly low, only a handful of confirmed deaths. Historians still debate that number, because the poor who died in the fire often weren't recorded at all. The city that burned twice in its history, once by an enraged queen, once by an accident in a bakery, refused to disappear either time. And what rose from those ashes wasn't just a rebuilt city, it was a smarter one. Architect Christopher Wren redesigned huge sections of London in stone and brick instead of wood. St. Paul's Cathedral, the one you still see on the skyline today, was born directly from that fire. But London's next transformation wasn't caused by flames. It was caused by something almost nobody could see. By the 1700s, London had become the beating heart of an empire that would eventually control a quarter of the entire planet. Ships loaded with sugar, tea, spices, and enslaved people moved through its docks. That wealth built the mansions, the banks, the institutions that still define the city's skyline. But it came at a brutal human cost that historians and the public are still reckoning with today. Then came the Industrial Revolution, and London exploded in population. In 1800, it had about 1 million people. By 1900, it had over 6 million. It became the largest city on Earth, and also one of the deadliest. Coal smoke choked the air so thick that Londoners called it a Pea-Souper fog. Cholera outbreaks killed thousands because nobody understood that the city's water was mixed with its own sewage. One doctor, John Snow, traced a deadly outbreak to a single water pump in 1854, and in doing so, basically invented modern epidemiology. London kept surviving disasters it had mostly caused itself. Then, in the 20th century, the threat came from the sky. During World War II, Nazi Germany launched a bombing campaign against London known as the Blitz. For 57 consecutive nights, bombs fell on the city. Over 1 million homes were damaged or destroyed. Tens of thousands of civilians were killed. And yet, night after night, Londoners went down into the underground tube stations, slept on the platforms, and came back up the next morning to keep working, keep living, keep rebuilding. Winston Churchill later said their spirit was what actually won the war morale. Even as the physical city was being torn apart above them, by the time the bombing stopped, London had been burned by a queen, abandoned by its own people, gutted by fire, choked by its own progress, and bombed nearly into rubble. And every single time, it came back different but never gone. Today, London is one of the most visited cities on Earth, home to over 9 million people, with Roman walls still buried beneath modern office buildings, and a financial district built on the exact spot where merchants first started trading 2,000 years ago. The city was never protected by luck. It was protected by location, that one narrow crossing point on the Thames that a group of Roman engineers picked almost 2,000 years ago, before anyone could imagine what it would become. Maybe that's the real lesson hiding inside London's story. Cities, like people, aren't defined by the disasters that hit them. They're defined by what they choose to rebuild when everything is gone. London was destroyed more times than most cities in history, and every single time, it decided to exist anyway.